Hello friends, good evening. This is Bhushan. I welcome you all to another edition of Daily News Analysis. So in the today's edition, we are going to discuss some very interesting articles that were featured in the Hindu and Indian Express newspapers. Particularly, we have taken the help of PIB as well. So we are going to discuss one article from PIB as well. So the first important article in Explain section is about Israel striking Iran, particularly Iran's nuclear facilities. Very important, particularly from the perspective of majorly means India Middle East relations. Along with it, from the perspective of prelims, getting to know the various locations in news are also important. So stay tuned. Another important article we are going to discuss is about government forming 300 FRA cells for implementation of FRA across 18 states and union territories. So this particular article is here important from the perspective of prelims. Particularly, you must know what exactly is the FRA, what are the schemes, provisions related to the development, related to the empowerment of tribal communities. Very important area, particularly from the perspective of prelims, particularly from the perspective of mains as well. The third important article from PIB is about Agri Stack turning data into delivery. Very important, very interesting article as well. So stay tuned. Another important article that we are going to discuss is about images of Sun's South Pole. So we are going to discuss from the perspective of science and technology this important news, how this particular image or image taken by that solar mission will help in furthering our study of Sun. In the decoded section, we are going to take a deep dive into India-France relations. As you know, you must be knowing Dr. S. Jaishankar, our Minister of External Affairs, is visiting France. So essentially, in that context, knowing the ups and downs of the India-France relation is very, very important. So this is the most strategic relations India has, particularly in the European Union. So stay tuned for that particular article as well. So the first important article that we are going to discuss is about Israel striking Iran. So essentially, this particular news and the speculation regarding that was in news since last few months itself. Currently, Israel has also involved in Israel-Gaza war. Sometimes back, it has its own war with Hezbollah as well. Hezbollah, particularly in Lebanon. So currently, what has happened is Israel has striked Iran now. So Iran's nuclear facilities. See, nuclear-powered Iran is considered one of the existential threats for Israel. So considering, to tackle that particular considerable threat, Israel has now struck Iranian nuclear facilities, and we have seen, the images, the developments regarding that. In recent times, according to the latest sort of estimates, Iran has retaliated to the Israeli strikes as well. So, there is a counter attack by Iran as well at the same time. So, we are going to see, lot of developments when it comes to Israel-Iran. From the perspective of prelims, particularly knowing some locations in news, facilities in news, what exactly Iran is doing, what is its nuclear program, how US is involved in all this is important. Along with it, from the perspective of means, India-Iran relations, at the same time India-Israel relations, on taking a larger picture, India-Middle East relations overall are very, very vital. So stay tuned. So what has happened now? So that Israel has now struck some very important nuclear sites in Iran. So particularly you can see Iran, the map here. So this is Iran. See, at the same time, from the perspective of mapping, you must know the bordering countries of Iran. So you have Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan, there is Iraq at the same time, there is Turkey, there is Azerbaijan, and to a certain extent, you have Iran has maritime border with Saudi Arabia, UAE as well. So essentially, knowing the mapping aspect is also important from the perspective of prelims. So as I said, why particularly now Israel has attacked Iran's nuclear facilities. So Israel is preparing in a long term to attack Iranian nuclear sites. Israel has been preparing for direct conflict with Iran for years. So Netanyahu, particularly the Israeli Prime Minister, has taken that chance now, given that in the meantime, earlier there was news that Trump is also negotiating with the Iran for new nuclear treaty or new nuclear deal between the two countries. after giving 60 days, ultimatum to Iran to agree to the terms for nuclear deal, Israel struck on 61st day. So, you can see the calculation here particularly, but these particular strikes are long term in nature. So, essentially Israel has conducted multiple clandestine attacks on Iran in recent times. In 2020 we have assassinations, in 2014 we have particularly Israel bombed Iranian embassy in Damascus as well. So, recent times we have seen the IAEA resolution at the same time, which declared Iran non-compliant with non-proliferation obligations, which is first such thing in 20 years. So, we have seen that much, that particular development in detail as well in our daily news analysis episode earlier. IAEA resolution, what exactly is this IAEA is also important, particularly from the perspective of prelims. There is secret nuclear activities. Iran is involved in secret nuclear activities. At the same time, Israel is supposed to, Israel hasn't declared itself as a nuclear weapon state, but Israel has its own nuclear weapons program according to certain reports. Found 3 locations as per IAEA investigation. So, this is something related to IAEA investigation. PM Netanyahu's justification, what Israeli PM is saying. He is saying that Iran's nuclear and missile program posed an existential threat to Israel. Essentially, Iran is weaponizing enriched uranium potential to develop nuclear weapon within months. So, he is claiming there is an existential threat to Israel, overall the stability of the Middle East. Considering these aspects, Israel struck Iran. Israel's long-standing policy is to prevent Iran from becoming a nuclear armed state. So, essentially the rivalry between Israel and Iran is very much entrenched. There is what exactly has happened in this June 13, 2025 attack now. Israel launched a massive hours-long strike inside Iran. What are the targets which Israel struck? There are nuclear facilities, there are ballistic missile sites, residence of top generals, over 24 nuclear scientists. So, Israel essentially struck. Obviously, having that sort of intelligence is also necessary to so that the operation can be much more precise. So, you can see the work of Mossad in that regard as well. Considered the heaviest blow to Iran since Islamic Revolution. So, this is one of the heaviest blow to Iran. Although Israel also said it is not a one-day attack, it will continue in coming days. Given Iran also retaliates, so the cycle of retaliations will continue. So, we do not know as of now where when exactly the attacks are going to stop. So, let us see what are the developments in that regard. So, changing the global and regional dynamics. The global and regional dynamics are also changing. Past US presidents blocked Israel's plan due to regional risks. Current situation is different. Post October 7, 2023 Hamas attack, Israel started mini regional war. So, as I earlier said, Israel is currently waging a war against Hamas in Gaza. We have seen the humanitarian cost of that particular war. At the same time, earlier it has retaliated against Hezbollah in Lebanon, against Syria for some time as well, when the Bashar al-Assad was in power at that point of time. By December 2024, Assad's regime in Syria failed, disrupting Iran-Hezbollah supply access. So, earlier what used to happen is these 3 axes are aligned with Iran, but after the fall of Bashar al-Assad, that particular supply between Iran and Hezbollah now has stopped. Okay. So, now what has happened is Iran's deterrence has also weakened. So, to what extent it will be able to retaliate massively to the Israeli attack is also questionable. So, essentially October 24, 2024 Iranian missile attack followed by Israeli operation. There is Israel destroys several Iranian missile defense systems at the same time. Iran's nuclear facilities left exposed. Israel saw this as a historic window of opportunity to strike Iran before Iran recovered. So, essentially even you can see the Google satellite images of these facilities. So, to certain extent Iran is not able to hide these clandestine operations. nuclear operations at the same time from the Israeli gaze. So, US position under Trump, Trump is one of the most pro-Israel presidents in recent times, but he is also changing his policies towards Middle East given his own MAGA agenda, MAGA, Make America Great Again agenda. Trump initially offered diplomacy, delaying Israeli plans in May. As I earlier said, Trump gave Iran 60-day ultimatum. After that, actually Israel struck Iran on 61st day. His goal, Trump's goal is total dismantling of Iran's nuclear program. What is the earliest development is Trump itself in his first term withdrew US from JCPOA, joint, that plan which was agreed with Iran, EU and US to control and actually regulate Iranian access to nuclear weapons. But that deal was, struck down by Trump in his first term. Iran offered a rollback since 2015, not full surrender. Trump's recent Truth Social post says, warned Iran to take the deal before there is nothing left, claimed next attacks are already planned. Israel and US are closely aligned. Trump was aware of Israel's plan. So, what Trump is now saying that he is fully aligned with Israeli attacks, although he is earlier delaying Israeli attacks according to his own post on Truth Social. So, let us see how the situation evolves in this particular, very fresh conflict. What are the Iran's dilemmas now? Option 1, walk away and retaliate, risk of further Israeli escalation. That is what has happened actually. Accept the US deal, political humiliation. So, essentially, it is Trump also said that on the coming Sunday, the nuclear talks with Iran can go forward given Iran comes to its own terms. Okay. So, essentially, we have to see particularly whether Iran agrees to that or not. Considering the current situation, the retaliations in question, I do not think Iran will go ahead with the talk on Sunday. Option 3 is escalate war to pressure the US, risk direct US involvement. So, essentially the risk of direct US involvement can be there if the Iranian retaliation is massive. So, see, knowing these particular sites is now important from the perspective of prelims. So, let us see some of the sites in Iran. So, Israel striked Tabriz, there is Kermanshah, there is Tehran obviously, there is Arak, there is Natanz and there is Isfahan. So, remember these names, very important. Essentially, you just have to remember the country associated with it to certain extent, so that you can get the clicks in the actual exam time. So, essentially what are the key Israeli targets? As I said, the nuclear sites are the major targets. One of them is Natanz facility, that is in Isfahan province. So, Iran's main uranium enrichment site, severe damage reported, unclear if centrifuge halls deep underground were hit. Store uranium hexafluoride, enriched uranium, which is essentially it is a store facility for enriched uranium. There is a Fordo facility as well, which is in Qom province. So, fully underground, harder to hit. Initial IAEA reports not attacked. Later Iranian media reported there are explosions. So, these are two sites, nuclear facilities inside Iran that are struck by particularly Israel now. Israel also struck military infrastructure, nuclear research center, missile facilities in Bid, Kane, Tehran's southern edge, missile base in Kermanshah, multiple military bases in and around Tehran. Additional strikes followed on Tabriz, Tehran later in the same evening. So, just remember these locations, sites, very important, particularly from the perspective of prelims. Nuclear risk analysis. What is the analysis when it comes to nuclear risk particularly? No major nuclear explosion expected, as hitting nuclear material alone does not equal explosion. Nuclear weapons need precise initiation mechanisms. At the same time, potential outcomes, local radiation dispersal possible, health hazard to workers is also possible, not likely to cause a large scale nuclear disaster. So, it is not that Israel is able to hit deep inside these nuclear facilities. So, the nuclear disaster can be limited in that regard. Iran's military response and impact. So, essentially, as I earlier said, Iran obviously retaliated. Uh, Iran's weakness exposed. This is important point. Strikes show limitations in Iran's defense, retaliation ability, missile facility damages likely impair response capacity at the same time. But knowing the geopolitical context is also important. You have Israel's edge. Obviously, Israel, one of the most militarily advanced economies. There is strong US support, asymmetry in battlefield capabilities. US in particular, Donald Trump is also very uncertain. Now, he is earlier used to, being restrained, will be able to restrain Israel, but now he is fully supporting Israel. So, essentially, there is, this uncertainty when it comes to US. There are actually conflicting reports of US involvement in this particular strikes as well. About Natanz nuclear facility, another important location here, Natanz nuclear facility. Just go through that briefly, not that much important. This is the practice question for you. Again, perspective from the mapping is important here. Comment your answer in the comment section. Particularly, the next important article that we are going to discuss is about center sanctioning over 300 FRA cells to facilitate implementation of Forest Rights Act across 18 states and UTs. Very important article, particularly what exactly is this Forest Right Act, by the way. Knowing that is really, really important. And what exactly is these forest rights cells, 300 FRA cells that will now facilitate the implementation of FRA. So, stay tuned. So, particularly about the news, under Dharti Aba Janajatiya Gram Utkarsh Abhiyan, a central scheme, the Union Ministry of Tribal Affairs has so far sanctioned the setting of 324 district level FRA cells across 18 states and UTs implementing the forest rights law. In addition, state level FRA cells have been sanctioned for 17 of these states and UTs. So, essentially, under this particular Yojana, the district level FRA cells have been started now by Ministry of Tribal Affairs. So, this is major news, by the way. What exactly is this FRA cells? What is the purpose? To facilitate and accelerate the implementation of FRA. FRA cells operate under the state government's machinery. This is very, very vital. State governments will operate those. What are the functions? It will assist Gram Sabhas and claimants in preparing paperwork, support data management related to FRA claims, quickly dispose of pending claims. These cells will not interfere with decisions made by statutory FRA bodies like, what are the statutory FRA bodies, by the way? Forest rights committees, you have sub-divisional level committees, you have district level committees, and you have state monitoring committees. These are four statutory bodies under the Act. See, these FRA cells will not interfere with these bodies. So, essentially, what they will do, they will, they will bring ease of FRA claims to certain extent, so that we will have the right claimant getting the right assist under the FRA Act. Very, very vital. Financial details. FRA cells are being funded by center through general grants in aid. Budget allocation is, you can see the budget allocation as well. What exactly is this Abhiyan, by the way? It addresses critical gaps in social infrastructure, health, education and livelihood through the convergence of schemes. It brings together 25 interventions of 17 line ministries for targeted implementation in over 68,000 tribal dominated villages, built upon the success of PM Janman. So, it is in continuation with PM Janman scheme. You must be knowing this particular scheme. So, it mandates setting up FRA cells to speed up FRA implementation. So, the FRA implementations for the speeding up purposes, as I said, these FRA cells have been started under that particular Abhiyan. So, now this is the news, very important, very positive news from the perspective of particularly empowerment of the tribal communities. But what exactly is this scheduled tribes and other forest dwellers, other traditional forest dwellers recognition of Forest Rights Act of 2006? It is mostly known as FRA. It recognizes rights of scheduled tribes and other traditional forest dwellers. Implementation has been primarily been the responsibility of state and UT governments. So, essentially FRA implementation is primarily with states and UTs. So, rights recognized under FRA, this is very, very, very important. From the perspective of prelims, you must know what exactly are the rights recognized under the FRA. Land rights are recognized, right to own the land in case they have been engaged in cultivation of those lands before December 13, 2005. So essentially before the passing of the act, if the claimant, particularly the tribal person, is engaged in cultivating that land, he can have the claim over that particular land. No documentary proof required for those who had been cultivating land up to 4 hectares. Okay, so there is no need of documentary proof. Most of the time the tribal communities don't have the documentary proof to support their claims. So mostly, under FRA that has been waived off. Use rights. What are the use rights? Rights to use and collect what? There is minor forest produce like herbs, tendu, patta, medicinal plants, etc. Traditionally connected, it does not include timber. So it doesn't include timber. This is the most important point here. Know that there is use rights which includes minor forest produce, but timber is not included in it. Grazing grounds and water bodies, traditional areas of use by pastoralists of nomadic communities as well. So these are some use rights. Right to protect and conserve gives the community the right to manage and protect the forest and also to protect wildlife under its jurisdiction. No arbitrary dislocation from the national parks and other protected areas of the country. The forest dwellers cannot be displaced without fulfilling certain guidelines. Okay. So what are the ministries involved? There is Ministry of Tribal Affairs, nodal ministry for the implementation of FRA of 2006, and there is MOEFCC, Ministry of Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, which is responsible for environmental policies and forest management. This law mandates the state government to set up structure for processing of forest rights claim, which includes there is Gram Sabha, Forest Rights Committee, Subdivisional, District level and State Monitoring Committees. So these are the 4 bodies recognized under the Act. Very important from the perspective of prelims now. So, but there are certain issues here. There is a pendency of claims and state-wise distributions. By as of March 25, 51.11 lakh FRA claims have been filed across 21 states and UTs. 14.45% of claims are still pending. Just note down the data here. You can use such data in your answers when it comes to tribal rights. Of the 43 lakh disposed claims, 42% were rejected. So the rejection rate is really high. So there is a chance of corruption in these matters at the same time. Say states with most FRA cells sanctioned is Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Telangana, Maharashtra and Assam. Obviously, these are tribal heavy states where tribal populations are prominently found. So the central government is starting with these states now. States with high pendency, Assam almost 60+% claims are pending. Telangana around 50% are pending. So this particular cells will speed up the claim process overall, and it will essentially bring the ease of living for tribals at the same time, so that they can have the secure future for themselves. So this is the practice question for you. Just comment your answer in the comment section. Very important question. So the third important article, particularly from PIB, is about Agri Stack. So we are going to discuss what exactly is Agri Stack, what has happened in that regard in that particular conference that was held recently. So stay tuned. So particularly, when it comes to the news itself, it was a national conference on Agri Stack, which is turning data into delivery. Objective, what is the objective? To review the progress, address challenges and plan roadmap for Agri Stack under the Digital Agricultural Mission. So Agri Stack comes under Digital Agricultural Mission. What are the key highlights, by the way, by this particular inaugural session? There is emphasized transparent farm-centric governance using digital technology, urged states to link farmers' registries with updated records of rights. Digital land records, Aadhaar seeding is there, highlighted rural challenges like declining land value and incomes at the same time. So these are the Agri Stack implementation insights. There are some major announcements at the same time. Go through that briefly, not that much important here. So particularly, there are technical and thematic sessions at the same time. There are state representations as well. Particularly, Maharashtra showcased its large-scale farmer registry enrollment, requested support of data provisional engine. There is TBT integration. There is Mahavistar AI sandbox. So there is a presentations by Maharashtra in that particular conference. At the same time, there is presentation by Uttar Pradesh. There is presentation by Karnataka at the same time. Integrated Agri Stack with MSP procurement. see, from the perspective of means, note down these particular case studies or best practices from each state. These essentially you can use in your agriculture related answers. Just note down these. For example, you can note down Uttar Pradesh MSP procurement policy or initiative under Agri Stack. Karnataka, we have fruits banking integration, Agri Stack in disaster relief, linking soil health cards for personalized advisory particularly. So, digital agriculture is one area where you can get the question. Agri Stack is an important component of that same digital agricultural mission. The state related initiatives are important. We just discussed 3 state related initiatives: Maharashtra, UP and Karnataka. Note down very important case studies here. You can use those case studies in your agriculture questions particularly. So, essentially what are some other key digital initiatives, by the way, innovations in that regard? Digitally verifiable credentials, aka Kisan Pehchan Patra, authenticated credentials for land and crops, linked DigiLocker revoked upon mutation, unified grievance redressal mechanism portal is there, AI powered chatbot is also there, which is powered with the help of Google's Gemini, which will support multilingual queries. Very important. Most of the time our farmers may not know English, so multilingual facilities are very much needed in that regard. So, AI tools piloted for crop identification, surveyor facial authentication, at the same time backend code optimization. So, these are some key digital innovations under the Agri Stack which are discussed in that particular conference. Just note down one or two. You can mention one or two particularly in your answers. So, but knowing what exactly is the Agri Stack is important. It is a digital infrastructure initiative aimed at creating unified platform for farmers by integrating various technologies and databases. So, this is essentially a digital infrastructure initiative. It offers end-to-end services across agricultural value chain, aligns with Centre's Digital India e-governance programs. So, essentially supported by National Land Record Modernization Program. At the same time, each farmer will receive unique digital ID linked to Aadhaar containing personal land production and financial data. So, it will bring ease of doing business for farmers as well. So, essentially, it is the steps towards digital empowerment of farmers. Need for Agri Stack. But why there is a need for Agri Stack in the first place? Most Indian farmers are small and marginal with limited access to credit and technology. The use of digital tools like drones, soil sensors and AI can improve yields, reduce losses and boost incomes. So, getting the credit will also help farmers to certain extent. At the same time, particularly small and marginal farmers, many times they struggle to get the formal credit due to the lack of documents. So, now with DigiStack we have all the documents in one place for the farmer, and he can take the benefit of those, he or she can take the benefits of those documents to get the formal credit particularly. So, what are the expected benefits, by the way? Inadequate credit access, crop wastage. It will address issues like inadequate credit access, crop wastage, poor price discovery, pest control and yield forecasting. At the same time, it will encourage innovation, investment and resilient crop research as well. So, this is the practice question for you. Just comment your answer in the comment section. Very important, particularly you can use the data in your mains answers, but from the perspective of prelims, knowing what exactly is the Agri Stack is important. So, the next important news that we are going to discuss is about the sun's south pole. The images which are being taken by the mission, solar orbiter mission, very important from the perspective of prelims, knowing the structure of sun, what exactly is the magnetic field, what are the impacts of sun's magnetic field on Earth's magnetic field, how Earth's magnetic field repel the solar ejections. So, particularly there is solar coronal mass ejections, there are sunstorms at the same time. So, how Earth's magnetic field prevent those storms is also very important area to know here. So, from the perspective of science and technology, that particular news is important. So, when it comes to the news itself, the images were taken by solar orbiter mission. So, it is launched by ESA and NASA in 2020. It is a joint mission between ESA and NASA, solar orbiter mission. Objective is to study sun, particularly the poles from outside the ecliptic plane particularly. So we have our own Aditya L1 mission in recent times. So you must have seen the specific of that particular mission already. Breakthroughs: first ever images of Sun's south pole from tilted orbit enabled mapping of magnetic activity at the poles, first in solar sciences. So essentially, for the first time, this particular mission actually took the images of Sun's south pole. Scientific significance: essentially, particularly traditional solar observations were made from ecliptic plane, the flat disk in which planets orbit. Now what has happened? The 17-degree orbital tilt offers a new perspective and deeper insight into solar magnetic fields and polar phenomena. So essentially, these particular images will teach us many things when it comes to Sun's magnetic field and what exactly is the role, what exactly is the phenomena or these magnetic fields in the areas of poles, Sun's poles particularly. So essentially, what are the implications for solar research? Magnetic activity at the pole is crucial for understanding solar cycle, space weather, Sun's overall behavior. This marks the start of new era in solar observation. Essentially, we have the future prospects in that regard as well. The current tilt will continue till December 26 with more tilt planned. Clearer and more detailed images will be expected in near future. So, we will get to know. So, the mission is not finished. We will get more clearer picture going forward. But, having those images is also very vital. So, from the perspective now, structure of the Sun is important. So, you can see there is a core, there is convection zone, there is a radiative zone and there is obviously chromosphere and there is a photosphere, and outside it we have the corona. And you can see some of the some of the features on the Sun's photosphere. You have sunspot, you have prominences, you have coronal holes, and you can see the corona. Particularly the corona can be seen in times of solar eclipses, you must have seen. And one of the foremost mysteries when it comes to corona, solar corona in particular, the temperature gets increased substantially when you from the surface of photosphere to when you move from surface of photosphere of Sun to corona, the temperature increases. So essentially it is kind of counterintuitive, but it is a mystery still why the coronal temperatures rise. So that is the solar mystery, one of the foremost mysteries of Sun. So we hope to actually get answer to that particular question with our own Aditya L1 mission at the same time. What exactly is the solar cycle? So solar cycle, it is an 11-year cycle in which Sun's magnetic field flips, switching its north and south pole. So essentially, particularly the sunspot numbers, the solar flares, coronal mass ejections, all these activities have 11-year cycles. So within that time period, we will have the wave-like structure. So we will have the solar maximum, then it will reduce, again solar maximum, then it will reduce. So within these two troughs here, 11-year cycle is there essentially. So within that 11-year, we will see the magnetic particularly fields flips within in that particularly period. So we can see the solar maximums, okay, in those 11 years, somewhere in between we will have the solar maximum, where there is a high activity, more sunspot, frequent solar flares, coronal mass ejections also increase. And you can see the solar minimums as well, low activity, fewer sunspots. So exactly is this sunspot cycle itself is 11 years, essentially sunspot cycle, solar cycle, same thing, 11-year cycle is there. It is observed, you can see it is clearly the observations support this particular solar cycle here. So essentially, what is the significance of studying Sun's pole? First, polar images provide critical insight into solar cycle. Understanding solar cycle is also very important. Magnetic field behavior, particle tracking becomes much more easier. See, knowing another very important missions, solar missions is also important. We have Aditya L1, we have Proba 3 and we have Punch, polarimeter to unify coronal and heliosphere of NASA in recent times. So this is about solar mean magnetic field. Go through it briefly, not that much important. So this is the practice question for you. Comment your answer in the comment section. Particularly in the decoded section, we are going to discuss India-France relations in detail. essentially recent times we have seen Dr. Jaishankar's visit to France. So considering the bilateral bonhomie between these two countries, knowing the various collaborative, some divergences in the relations, very important, particularly from the perspective of IR. So as I said, our external affairs minister is visiting France. We have historical and diplomatic ties with France. Trade and economic relations, by the way, are very robust at the same time. The partnership was elevated to strategic partnership in 1998. See, just remember these sort of facts here. You can support your arguments with good amount of data. Following France's support for India's nuclear test and recognition of India as a responsible nuclear power. So, trade and relations, economic relations, bilateral trade. So, most of the time, you have to write the data, the right data when it comes to these sort of questions. So, bilateral relation is of $15 billion as of fiscal year 23-24. Major French firms Airbus, Dassault, Renault, Michelin have invested in India, while Indian IT firms like TCS, Infosys, Wipro operate in France at the same time. So, there is deeper economic cooperation, but the defense and security cooperation between the two countries is also very tremendous. Notable collaborations include Rafale jets. So, essentially there are 36 jets already required, but Rafale M jets ordered for aircraft carriers as well, to be delivered by 2019. Scorpion class submarines are also there, built with French help. Future enhancement includes AIP, integrated combat systems, under Project 75. So, under Project 75, also India and France are collaborating. There are military exercises. Knowing the military exercises and names important, particularly from the perspective of prelims, we have Shakti between these two countries, army exercise called Shakti, Varun, which is a naval exercise, Garud, which is air exercise. So, Shakti, Varun, Garud. FRIND X, FRIND X, essentially France India Defense Startup Excellence under Horizon 2047 fosters innovation. It connects key stakeholders ranging from defense startups, investors to incubators, accelerators and academic institutions to foster innovation and co-developments. So, essentially Horizon, what exactly is this Horizon 2047, by the way? It is a long-term roadmap to guide bilateral cooperation through end of year 2047. So, we have that sort of program collaboration in these defense and security areas at the same time. What are some science and space collaborations, by the way? India-France roadmap on AI, important, focusing on the development of safe, open, secure and trustworthy artificial intelligence. India-French Life Sciences Sister Innovation Hub, we have joint initiative in that regard as well. There is ISRO CNES cooperation, which includes satellite launches and research partnership. CNES essentially space organization associated with France, supports to India's Gaganyaan mission. France has supported India's Gaganyaan mission when it comes to the space cooperation by providing access to space hospital facilities, supporting astronaut health monitoring and life support systems at the same time. So, under Gaganyaan mission also France is supporting Iran particularly. Nuclear cooperation, this is another important area between the two countries. There is a civil nuclear energy collaboration with projects like Jaitapur nuclear reactors and future focus on small modular reactors and advanced modular reactors at the same time. So, in Jaitapur, India is collaborating with France, remember that fact. And there is a future collaborations on SMRs and AMRs as well. France is also collaborating with India when it comes to Indo-Pacific and geopolitical engagement in that regard. Both have shared vision of free, open and inclusive Indo-Pacific. Okay. See, use such terminologies in your answers: free, open and inclusive Indo-Pacific with increased naval coordination to counter Chinese influence. France supports India's bid for UNSC permanent membership and NSG entry, nuclear suppliers group entry. India Middle East Europe economic corridor. So, in IMEEC also, both countries are collaborating to counter Chinese Belt and Road initiatives particularly. There is a climate, energy and sustainable development collaborations at the same time with both of them have founded ISA earlier. Now, there is a joint investment in green hydrogen, sustainable urban planning, climate resilient developments as well at the same time. Both have launched Indo-Pacific Triangular Development Cooperation for third country projects aligned with SDGs. Counter-terrorism and financial security operations are also there. Joint action against terrorism through UN sanctions listing, FATF standards, and participation in No Money for Terror conference. So, which you have one question regarding that particular conference in recent times in GS3. So, in that regard also, India and France have collaborated, and there are ultimately cultural and educational ties. Over 10,000 Indian students now study in France. Young professional scheme is there, and there is consulate general in Marseille, which boost regional and business ties as well. France aims to attract almost 30,000 Indian students by 2030. That is the French target, to attract Indian youth to French universities as well. But what are some challenges? Despite the collaborative aspects of the relationship, we have the challenges. Trade and market access. No EU FTA, no EU India FTA yet. So, we have seen disputes over tariffs, labor, IT services. Lot of the times there are a lot of disagreements between EU and India. France digital tax laws and India's data localization rules pose challenges for businesses. So, essentially there are challenges in that regard, particularly when it comes to trade and market access, defense technology and project delays. We have seen French hesitation in technology transfer to contracts, contrast with India's push under Make in India and Atmanirbhar Bharat particularly. Naval defense projects have faced implementation delays and cost escalations in recent years. Geopolitical divergences. Many times, obviously we have seen the geopolitical divergences between the two countries. Ukraine war, essentially France has completely sided with Ukraine, but India's neutral stance, very famous neutral stance defended by S. Jaishankar at the same time. Differences on UNSC reforms, climate strategy and energy transition still persist. Visa restrictions and protectionist tendencies of France also hamper the student collaboration and cooperations in that regard. France engagement with China with occasionally diverge from India's alignment with Quad and AUKUS at the same time. At the same time, what is the way forward for the relationship? We have seen the collaborative aspects, we have seen the challenges, but what is the way forward? Strategic balancing in global affairs. India and France can support each other in shaping a balanced multipolar world order. Both want multipolar world order, so they can have the strategic balance in that regard. Indo-Pacific, a framework for deeper engagement. That is also important arena where there can be further engagement with France. Defense partnerships and domestic manufacturing. France has the potential to be key partner in India's defense modernization push. At the same time, expanding horizons, emerging areas of cooperation like connectivity, infrastructure, climate change and sustainability, along with cyber security and digital resilience. So, these are some of the newer areas where there is a scope for improved cooperation between two countries. So, we can conclude that as a global dynamic shift, both countries are well positioned to play pivotal roles in ensuring regional stability, economic resilience and technological innovation, strengthening institutional dialogue, deepening cooperation in emerging areas and resolving trade and technology transfer barriers will be key to realizing the full potential of the robust and forward-looking partnership. Okay. So, India-France relations are already strong, but we need to improve our own collaborations in newer areas at the same time, considering the volatile global security scenarios. So, this is the practice question for you. So, that is it from my side, and stay tuned for another edition of Daily News Analysis. Thank you.